You finally do something different for once. You skip the late-night gaming session, hit the books, and actually study like you mean it. You text your friends about your goals, and immediately the group chat goes dead. A few chuckles from the usual suspects. Bro, why you acting different? Last month I saw my GPA. 2.3. Meanwhile the guy who I used to share answers with. 3.8. Not because he's smarter, but because he stopped hanging with us. Like ambition is a joke. Every word you say about wanting more is met with quiet judgment or awkward silence. It stings. It's isolating. You start questioning yourself. Are you being dramatic? Are you betraying the people who've always had your back? And here's the kicker. This isn't some obvious enemy plotting against you. It's your so-called friends. They laugh. They tease. They pull you back into comfort. It feels like loyalty, but it's sabotage disguised as camaraderie. You shrink. You quiet yourself. You dim your ambition just to fit. So how do you fix this? And how do you level up without becoming socially isolated? Let's break the illusion first. Most students think the problem is obvious. My friends are toxic. That's surface-level thinking. The real issue isn't hate or malice. It's subtle, unconscious status preservation. When you grow, when you level up, you threaten the equilibrium of the group. Psychology calls this homeostasis. Groups punish members who outperform the norm, even with jokes or silence. Marcus Aurelius faced a similar challenge, surrounded by mediocrity and indulgence, yet he wrote about staying aligned with virtue regardless of others' behavior. That's your model. You don't quit because the group resists your growth. You move strategically. And here's the good news. This isn't rare or personal. Social psychology proves it happens to almost everyone who dares to outpace their peers. So here's my promise. In this video, you'll get 8 Stoic-based principles that teach you how to protect your ambition, raise your status, and escape silent sabotage. Even if you've known these friends since childhood. Even if they seem nice. Even if you fear being alone. Once you understand this, the path forward becomes clear. But before we dive into the tactics, you need to understand why this works at a deeper level. Stoicism isn't about isolating yourself or rejecting people. It's about cultivating internal authority that isn't dictated by fleeting approval. Seneca warned that the company you keep shapes your destiny. Energy transfers. Standards transfer. If you spend months with people who tolerate mediocrity, their habits seep into you whether you realize it or not. Today's culture worships belonging over excellence. Students optimize for laughs, not legacy. They chase immediate validation over long-term mastery, and it shows. Cramming, half-hearted projects and social posturing replace disciplined growth. Science backs this up. Mirror neuron research shows we unconsciously mimic the behaviors and emotions of those around us. Social conformity studies confirm that even high performers adjust downward to fit group norms. In other words, you become the average of your environment. If your circle procrastinates before exams, you will too. If they mock ambition, you'll dilute yours just to stay accepted. That's status physics in action. Stoic detachment doesn't mean avoiding friends, it means controlling the influence they exert over your choices, maintaining a frame that's anchored internally. This is the foundation. And once you grasp it, you can start making tactical shifts that protect your focus, your ambition, and your trajectory. Now that you understand the foundation, let's start with number 1, and this is where most students lose their power. Point 1. Dichotomy of control. Own what's yours. You know when you finally decide to study, buckle down and your friends start teasing you until it feels awkward. Suddenly your discipline isn't yours anymore, it's borrowed. Your mood spikes and dips depending on their tone, their laughter, their subtle eye rolls. That's social manipulation disguised as friendship. Epictetus taught that true power comes from focusing only on what's within your control, your effort, your attitude, your standards. Their reactions, completely outside your domain. Misplacing control here creates social anxiety, emotional whiplash, and weakened ambition. Here's the shift before any social interaction: define one personal standard, maybe 2 hours of deep work. When mocked, respond neutrally without defensiveness. Track self-respect, not likes. You decide to study Friday nights. Group chat explodes. Bro, we're hitting the arcade. Old you caves instantly. New you can't make it, got midterms. No explanation, no apology. Just boundaries, laughs, or approval. Practice this consistently for 7 days. Think of it like a Roman general. He doesn't beg soldiers for permission to lead. He sets the direction and commands presence. Ignore this, and your ambition will always be rented, never owned. Anchor your behavior internally and suddenly, emotional dominance and status presence become natural. Once you control yourself, the next step is controlling influence, because discipline alone isn't enough if your environment keeps pulling you down. Point 2. Social diet. Upgrade your circle intake. Group projects that should build skills instead become gossip sessions. Study time turns into meme marathons. You leave feeling energized, but it's for scrolling, not improving. Seneca warned that frequent exposure to vice weakens virtue. Humans absorb norms passively. The solution? Reduce low-value exposure gradually. Add one high-performing influence, a mentor, ambitious peer, or even an online community. Spend 30 minutes daily consuming growth-oriented content. Think about it, you wouldn't eat junk food every day and expect abs. Why consume low ambition and expect excellence? Ignore this and average standards will become your ceiling. Curate your social diet carefully, it determines your mental calories and your trajectory. Now that you've stabilized control and environment, let's talk about identity, because this is where sabotage gets subtle. Point 3. Identity shift, from pleaser to leader. You know when you keep over-explaining your goals just to avoid awkwardness. You slow down your speech to match everyone else. You hide ambition so the group doesn't feel threatened. That's over-accommodation, and it's invisible sabotage against yourself. Stoics call this self-definition. You define your identity internally, not by how the group reacts. Here's the shift: stop over-explaining your objectives. Speak with measured pace and confidence. Commit publicly to one personal standard, like finishing a project or hitting a grade, and let that act as your anchor. A lion doesn't debate the sheep over who's stronger, it acts with authority and presence. Ignore this, and you remain the invisible member of every room, always reactive, never noticed, never commanding. Start seeing yourself as a leader, not a pleaser, and watch the subtle dynamics around you change. Once you assert internal authority, it's time to manage how others value your presence, because constant availability erodes status. Point 4. Status through scarcity. Stop over-availability. You're always the first to reply, the first to volunteer, the default for group projects. People take it for granted. Your perceived value drops. Stoics understood scarcity paired with self-respect. What is rare is treasured. Here's what to do. Limit replies strategically. Protect your calendar. Guard at least one block of deep work every day. Make your presence intentional, not automatic. Think of rare metals. They command attention because they're uncommon. Ignore this principle and you become the backup option in friendships, group projects, and social influence. Control availability, and suddenly people start respecting your time and presence. But even with identity and status handled, there's still emotional sabotage you don't see coming. Point 5. Emotional detachment. Don't absorb their fear. You know when your friends project their doubts onto you. You'll never finish that project on time, or why even try, it's too hard. Suddenly their fear becomes your fear. Marcus Aurelius called your mind an inner citadel, untouchable by external chaos. Here's the shift: pause before reacting. Label the projection for what it is, their limits, not yours. Reframe criticism as information, not judgment. You're not a sponge soaking up everyone else's anxiety, you're a shield absorbing only what aligns with your standards. Ignore this, and you inherit their limits, unconsciously lowering your ambition, letting their caution dictate your choices. Detachment doesn't mean isolation, it means emotional sovereignty. The better you guard your inner world, the higher your focus, clarity, and presence rise. Once your emotions are anchored, the next step is mental clarity, escaping the comparison trap that keeps you tied to stagnant peers. Point 6. Comparison detox. Compete with yourself. You scroll through group chats, see everyone's achievements, and feel stuck. Comparing your progress to a stagnant circle is a trap. Stoics practiced self-benchmarking. The only true competition is with yourself. Here's the shift. Conduct a weekly review of personal metrics, grades, skill progress, or habits. Keep a private log of growth. Focus on your track, not theirs. Think of it like running your own race. Comparing to others running circles around the same block is pointless. Ignore this, and comfort masquerades as stability while real growth stagnates. Compete with yesterday's version of yourself, and every small win compounds into a trajectory that far outpaces the average student. And this next shift is the most powerful because it determines whether you rise alone or inspire transformation. Point 7. Selective loyalty, earned, not assumed. You've been loyal to the same friends for years, automatically defending them, excusing their behavior. But blind loyalty can cost you more than you realize. Seneca emphasized virtue over history. Allegiance should be earned, not assumed. Here's the shift. Evaluate relationships quarterly. Ask, Does this person support my growth, or just expect me to maintain the old status quo? Reduce energy investment in those who drain ambition. Intentionally upgrade your network with peers who challenge and elevate you. Think of it like pruning branches on a tree. Removing what's dead allows new growth to flourish. Ignore this, and emotional debt compounds forever, tying you to mediocrity while your potential rots. Loyalty without discernment becomes a leash, not a bond. Once your loyalty is selective, it's time to filter every decision through long-term alignment, because today's yes determines tomorrow's trajectory. Point 8. Future-based filtering. Does this align? You say yes to everything. Last-minute hangouts, extra shifts, endless favors. Right now it feels harmless, but Marcus Aurelius practiced premeditatio malorum, thinking ahead about what matters most. Here's the shift. Run every opportunity through a 5-year lens. Ask, will this move me toward the future I want, or distract me? Say no gracefully to tasks or people misaligned with growth. Plan your commitments like an architect designing a foundation, each block intentional. Ignore this, and you drift into mediocrity, bending to others' schedules instead of building your own empire of focus and achievement. Prioritization becomes leverage, clarity becomes power, alignment becomes freedom. So here's what you need to remember from all of this. Let's recap, rapid fire, so it sticks. First, control what's yours, anchor your actions to internal standards, not peer reactions. Second, curate your environment, remove low ambition energy and add influences that elevate you. Third, redefine your identity, stop being a pleaser and start acting like a leader in your own life. Fourth, use scarcity strategically, limit availability to increase perceived value and command respect. Fifth, detach emotionally, don't absorb the fear or doubt your friend's project. Sixth, compete internally, measure progress against yourself, not your stagnant circle. Seventh, make loyalty conditional, support only those aligned with growth. Eighth, filter through future self, say yes to opportunities that build your 5-year vision, and decline what distracts you. This is the Stoic inner citadel applied to social power dynamics. You're building an unshakable core while navigating influence, status, and peer pressure. Think of it like constructing a fortress. Each principle is a brick, each decision a reinforcement. Here's your roadmap. Pick one principle this week. Master it. Track results. Next week, add another. Small, deliberate steps compound faster than trying all 8 at once. Momentum matters more than perfection. Within 6 months, your presence shifts. Your focus deepens. Grades rise. Respect increases. The social landscape starts bending around you, instead of you bending for it. Stop bouncing between scattered advice and reactive habits. Cross-mark the scattered self-help consumer drifts aimlessly. Check-mark the strategic student builds identity brick by brick, principle by principle, until influence, discipline, and reputation are undeniable. Now here's what separates students who transform from students who just watch. If you're serious about growth, hit subscribe. Not for notifications, not for fluff, but because serious students build systems, not excuses. Because watching videos without action is easy, but changing yourself is hard. And if this message hit a nerve, good. Growth feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is the signal, you're stretching beyond the frame your old circle set for you. Here's the challenge, don't just nod and scroll. Comment below, what's one habit your circle normalized that you're finally breaking? Be specific. Naming it is the first step to owning your transformation. And don't worry, you're not abandoning people. You're abandoning mediocrity. You're stepping into a higher standard where ambition, discipline, and respect aren't optional, they're your baseline. Next video, we're diving deeper, how to command respect in any room without saying much. You'll learn subtle power moves that force presence and elevate status, even if you're not the loudest person in the room. Remember the contrast. Cross-mark students who binge motivation endlessly stay stuck. Check-mark students who apply these principles rise, quietly, strategically, and inevitably. Start today. Execute. Transform. No excuses.